What up, though? This is Knockouts and Three Counts. But before we bring you another episode of Podcast Gold, let me tell you about the homies over at Michigan's Finest. Do you ever find yourself trying to get yourself together and thinking, man, this is going to be a great night, but I'm looking for that little extra something? Well, check out our friends at Michigan Finest. If you are into medical marijuana, recreational marijuana, concentrates, vapes, anything of that sort, Michigan's Finest has got you covered. And as you can see here, it's all easily done by their website. It's all curbside, and you'll be in and out in 2 minutes. And they're family owned and operated, so customer service is their number one goal. And now, since they are rocking with Knockouts and Three Counts, use the code KO3MF. Yes, that's KO3MF. You get 10% off your entire order, but that does exclude featured items and items that are already on sale. But if you use that code, you're getting 10% off your items, and I promise you, either if you're looking for that big knockout or you're ready to hit the sheets for that 3 count, Michigan's Finest will get you together. Tell them Knockouts and 3 Counts sent you, and I promise you, you're going to be having a great night. Peace.
This is the Ring of Honor, a.k.a. Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy.
This is Mr. Anderson.
This is good old JR Jim Ross, and you are listening.
You're listening to Knockouts and 3 Counts.
Cover! We got a cover world champion!
That might be one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen in my life.
Knockouts and 3 Counts is the podcast, baby! It's the real deal, baby!
Knockouts and 3 Counts starts now.
Woo! What up, though? I have survived. My fingers might not have so far, but I survived. We survived. 5-Finger Death Punch was insane. Definitely might have topped the list for my new favorite concert I've ever been to. Shout out to Chris Kale and 5-Finger Death Punch as a whole. Ivan Moody, all the guys there. Angelo, if you're watching this, I'm still jealous that you got to train with him. But then again, I cannot complain about last night. I have new additions to the studio. We had a badass show. It was last night was pretty badass. I'll let you guys talk first, and then I'll go long-winded about the kind of the setup for all that. What were your guys' thoughts on 5-Finger Death Punch, and how the fuck you guys doing?
I mean, just the concert as a whole, right? Like, I mean, me and you had, all three of us really had a conversation about, being just surprised at the talent that Megadeath still brings to stage at this stage in their career, right? I mean, they're definitely no spring chickens anymore, and they really put on an amazing show, in my opinion. And then 5-Finger Death Punch to top it all off. They really, yet again, put on an amazing show. I love not only they played incredibly well. You could hear the vocals very clear, especially for DTE. For anybody that knows DTE, sometimes the way that the speaker system is or the setup is, you don't always get the vocals the clearest, and you could actually hear the vocals while hearing the band. I love that they had plenty of solos for all the instruments, so you could definitely hear everybody's talent take course throughout the show. Really, the cinematography, or however you want to word that, with like the confetti flying through that was sweet. It looked like a damn snow globe or something under the pavilion there for a couple moments when they let the confetti go. But all in all, man, great show. Shout out Fire from the Gods. They were another great band that opened the show. The hue, I showed my little brother the hue today, and I was telling him about the sauce and
the sauce. Like Epic Mealtime is making its return. If you're watching this, have ever watched Epic Mealtime, comment some of your favorite episodes.
I forgot about the sauce.
It's sauce, man. But it was a great time, dude. Like I said, I got to talk about it. First experience, man, backstage at DT. That's just it was wild, right? And then like to actually the reason why we were backstage, right? Like me and you had conversations about it, Kyle, where it was like seeing the podcast take its fold to where we were basically picking the fruits of our labor at this point and at an amazing show, and backstage get to meet arguably one of our favorite bands. And Kyle walks out with a damn freaking custom jersey and shit. It was just an amazing night. All in all, it was just an amazing night, top to bottom. All the bands sounded well. Everything about it. It was just a good night.
Agreed, man. Like I said, there's so much history at Pine Knob, dude. DT or whatever you want to call it these days. Just like the energy that was there. I mean, keep in mind we got great rock and roll music. We both know Megadeath, Five Finger tears it up no matter what. But the energy on stage, the stage presentation, just like I said, the way that Ivan, gets out there with the crowd and talks to the people in the crowd, connects with the people, man. Like that just means so much to not only just rock and roll music, but to the fans. You know what I mean? It's something to be proud of, dude. Like I said, we were part of something special last night, dude. And that's not just saying that because we were included. Like that was something to see. So what a way to close out concert season, right?
You're not kidding. Donald, we were just talking about you, guy. We were talking about GCW. So, I hear you might be rolling with J-Bone this time. So if that is true, then that means that you now have to come watch the UFC fights with us afterwards. That's just how that works. So Donald,
Tales from the Road clip or something.
Dude, oh my God. Speaking of that, Tales from the Territories. If any of you guys are watching this, if you watched Tales from the Territories, the new series by The Rock in like the Dark Side of the Ring docu-series, holy shit.
Yeah.
I only watched the first episode, but dude, I am hook, line, and sinker. We will talk about that in a little bit. As far as Five Finger goes, first of all, shout out to Chris Kale. For those of you guys that don't know and are new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button and go back and check out our episode with Chris Kale because, again, it's a crazy story. My dad and I went to. We know you're coming. But with that being said, yeah, man, for those of you who are new here and don't know, we were going to Five Finger Death Punch concert last time we went. My dad crashed the car on the way there. We still went to the concert, and fast forward the way life works, one of my buddies, Justin James, who also happens to be a past guest of this show, happens to be was on his run in the UFC and trains Chris Kale. Chris Kale heard that, DM'd us, came on the show. Last night they came through to Detroit, and man, did he show love. It was so dope to get to go back there and kick it with them and thank them for the memories, not only from last night, but with my dad as well. And then, like you said, first of all, the jersey that he gave us, which I will be hanging, and it will be on the wall here in the studio here eventually. But with that being said, for those of you guys who didn't see it, go check it out on that KO3C pod. I mean, I could swim in the fucking thing, so I knew I couldn't wear it. But it was pretty badass. All black and orange Tigers jersey given to him by the Tigers. Maybe he could help us. But with that being said, he gave me the jersey and signed it and hooked it out. I mean, there's always next year, Corey. It could be Power of the Beard in this motherfucker. I'm just saying. But, yeah, dude, definitely a dope-ass night. It was dope to get to sit there and shoot the shit with Ivan Moody as well, and thank him for that as well, and to know that he knew of the show and what we were doing and all those things. It's, like I said, dude, definitely one of those where it was a great night, great time. It was a good time. Let's see. Their Japan tour was top notch. Dude, I've heard nothing but good things of GCW in Japan. GCW just had their run in Japan, past guest of the show. Ninja Mac was all over that as well, and Joey Janela was all bleeding all over the place. Look, dude, I've said it before. I'll say it
on Twitter. I was like, wow. Wow.
He was trying to one up Onita for sure.
Yeah. Hey, when in Japan, bleed
like Onita. Just try not to get blown up like Onita. But with that being said, dude, GCW, I mean, even though everybody may not like all the practices and all the things you hear with Brett and all those things, dude, I mean, they put out entertaining stuff a lot of the time, too. At least when it's done well and done right, dude. Like Donald said, that shit, everything I've heard and everything I watched was gnarly. If any of you guys watched GCW Japan, let me know what you thought. Yeah, dude.
Grade A talent over there, dude. Grade A talent over there for sure.
They just lay it on. They just lay it on the line in a totally different way, right? Like all the Japanese wrestlers, they really lay it on the line, right? Like you'll see some stuff in some of these deathmatch circuits and stuff, and some of the shows you guys have taken me to and stuff. I've definitely seen some people go for it, but don't get me. That the level in Japan that these people are willing to send it is just a whole. It's a whole nother level.
Send it. I'm with it, but yeah, dude. Shout out to GCW. Also in the world of wrestling, obviously we had Corey go to an ICW show. Look, dude, pulling this guy out of the house is like pulling teeth. So I don't know. You might maybe one day.
Hey, Corey's gonna be making some appearances here soon, though. We're gonna be at Cheapy Creepy. We're gonna be at the next Deathmatch Circus. We've already agreed on that.
I heard that things are gonna get scummy tomorrow, though.
Right?
It's like it's scummy tomorrow. It's all going down. You're gonna see Corey in his locks out in public.
Oh, fuck.
I don't know. I might crack a motherfucker in the head with a glass bottle, and got to pull out the old ski mask again for old time's sake. Like I say, you never know where you'll see us at. But speaking of things that went on while we were gone, you had AEW Dynamite. A lot of good things on there. It was their 3-year anniversary. I guess before we talk about the highlights from AEW Dynamite and all that stuff, J-Bone, what are some of your thoughts when we talk about 3 years of AEW?
I think, well, for me, man, I think number one's got to be the Punk return still. I mean, besides that, all the good matches. They've had so many good matches, dude. You know what I mean? Just Yo, and honestly, for me, tag team wrestling. I think we've really seen a resurgence in tag team wrestling starting in AEW across the board throughout all the other organizations. But I think AEW really kind of implemented that, like, hey, we're bringing back tag team wrestling. So for me, I think that's a pretty big thing, man.
Yeah.
Can't argue that. For those of you guys just joining, we're talking about 3 years of AEW. We're going to talk about the new commentary teams for WWE. We're going to talk some Extreme Rules. We're going to talk about Le'Veon Bell stepping back into the ring with fucking Uriah Hall. What the fuck? Donald, the Tony Khan needs to lay off the coke.
We can agree there too. Yes. Tony Khan is a wild man, and I think everybody knows that now.
He's not taking any of this fucking shit. Do you remember? He's not taking any of his fucking shit.
You got to say that, and then you got to stare into the camera for like 20 seconds.
I'm not taking any of this fucking shit. Any like that?
Big old eyes.
Big old eyes, but a nice fucking fish.
Well, look, shout out to Tony.
Big old eyes, but a nice fucking fish.
It's a big responsibility to have an organization like that, as we can see with all the crazy shit going on in the locker room.
$5 if you know what movie that's from.
Nope.
I missed it.
I said big fucking eyes, but nice fucking fish.
Oh, fuck.
Dude, come on, J-Bone, damn it.
Donald,
Donald, if you're watching this, Chris, if you're watching this, Cody, if you're watching this, I will give you $5 when I see you if you can guess what that was from.
Besides kids' movies, I haven't watched a single guy.
You're going to say it, I'm going to fucking punch my screen.
7 years.
And then J-Bone won't be able to do the show, and you'll be able to have video proof that he can't blame me because he's a hothead.
Blaming you for everything.
I mean, that just seems to be the general way of the world. If I'm involved, it's got to be my fault.
Blame Kyle.
Talking about hothead, was it a hot-headed decision to get rid of Jimmy Smith? I feel like he was doing a pretty damn good job over there. Was it a hot-headed decision? Did they jump the gun in letting Jimmy Smith go? Should they have gave him more time to continue to pursue his path into the wrestling realm, or had things? Because I had noticed that the momentum, I guess that you can say, that he brought in when he was first, when he first came in, it seemed like wrestling fans welcomed him with open arms and were very accepting of his commentary, really liked his work and stuff like that. But it seemed like not necessarily like people weren't talking about it as much. And I don't know if that was a good thing because he was just blending in with the cast, and it wasn't like he didn't have to stand out because he was just being a good, a good commentator? Or was it that he had kind of run his course and that's why we are where we are? I pose a question to you guys.
J-Bone, you want to go first?
I'll go.
I'll go first. I don't care.
You want to go? You go first. Go ahead.
I don't know, man. I was definitely high on Jimmy Smith coming from the MMA world. Obviously, for those of you guys who are new here, you can go check out our interview with Jimmy Smith, fresh off of when he signed with WWE. But with that being said, I was a big fan of Jimmy coming into WWE. I think Jimmy brought a different element of it. I like I liked his pronunciation with the submissions and things, like calling them what you would hear in a traditional sense versus, some of the wrestling adaptations to it. And, I like the style that Jimmy brought to it. But to your point, Corey, I do think over this last year, in the last few months, we've kind of seen some of that momentum dissipate. And I think we all know that Jimmy's heart is still in MMA. I think he did a great job with what he's doing. I think he has a future in commentary, whomever that's for. I definitely would not be mad at seeing him back on a commentary desk. I just think what it boils down to is, while I think he did really well with what he did, I also think wrestling wasn't really his bag. And I think over time that kind of played. And I think now that they're at the new seasons and they're basically trying to make new looks for Raw and SmackDown and NXT, NXT's got a new logo and new look and all that kind of stuff. So they're changing up the team there. I'm surprised to see Booker T coming in there. Raw, but on Raw though, I got to say, no disrespect to Kevin Patrick, but I don't know that I think that he would be a better front man than Jimmy Smith either, though. So I got to see how this team is going to play out. I think Corey Graves is a great anchor, regardless of who you put around him at this point. I think he's proven himself to be, top tier as far as announcers go. But I don't know about having Kevin Patrick be like the front man. But as far as Jimmy leaving, that's kind of my thoughts. I'm not really surprised necessarily. I am in a way because I liked what he was doing, but when I saw that they were talking that they were going to change the teams, I wasn't super surprised. But what do you think, J-Bone?
I'm with you. I'm on board with that. I just feel like when we started, like you said, the momentum was like, hey, here's an MMA guy. We're bringing an MMA feel to wrestling. And his presentation of broadcasting style was that. It was an MMA type presentation, So bringing in new fans, bringing in more eyes, attach your name to other things. It's good for him because now you got that under your belt. But to your point, Kyle, I think that's when the winds of change come. I really feel like that's the only thing you could have changed. You know what I mean? Is get him out, keep the guys that are already there. Vic Joseph and Booker T. Like you said, Booker T was kind of a shocker for me. But at the end of the day, I don't think it was Jimmy staying still. If Jimmy had to pick, obviously he's going to go the MMA route. So once things start to change, I'm sure he would be in agreement. Like, hey, my time's just up here. You know what I mean? And let's not forget, somewhere down the road, once football season's over, Patty Mack's coming back, dude. So you got to make room for a third seat somewhere on one of those broadcast booths. So he's coming. Well,
that's a question, though. Do you think he's going to come back like that? Granted, we know he's still got a contract with WWE, but bro.
You would have to be what's the word? Dumb not to bring.
I'm not saying WWE, but I'm not saying WWE doesn't want him back. I'm saying, what if he gets so busy with College Game Day and all the other shit that he's doing that he'd come back? Donald already debunked that. He said he was. Yeah, he's definitely said he's coming back. Yeah. But I'm just saying, I've seen shit change. But I'm all for seeing Pat McAfee in any capacity in the WWE. Yeah. I've already said multiple occasions I'm very high on what we've seen in the ring. I'm high on what we've heard on commentary and the energy he brings to it. Donald, you posed that with Jimmy, that the energy that he brought, you felt like didn't add to the wrestling part. Well, you can't say that with Pat McAfee because the energy that guy brings, the way he's dancing on the table and all that stuff, Pat McAfee makes it entertaining to watch. And if you're watching at home, the energy he brings and adds to the match.
Just a whole nother layer of fun.
Just look at the fact that he's had 4 wrestling matches in his whole career or some shit, and he's been main stage in a WrestleMania. You know, like he's taken like as high as he went in there with Vince before Vince. Isn't he technically Vince's last match? Like it's Pat McAfee.
Yeah,
so,
Technically.
yeah.
So you know, like
That's a good point.
you know, he
That's a
definitely
bucket
made an
list.
impact.
That's a thing to put on the resume.
He definitely made a huge impact in a short time. You know, it's kind of like what we're seeing, like a vice versa, obviously, because it's an entertainment versus, you know, like skill and stuff. But like a Bo Nickel effect, but in wrestling, right? Where the guys just come in and taking over. And I feel like that's the Pat McAfee effect. And you can tell from somebody that watches his daily show every so often, you can tell he's definitely still very in tune and interested in his wrestling gig. He definitely enjoys it and has fun playing that character. So I definitely see him coming back once football lightens up. But
you want him back on SmackDown? Do you guys think he goes to Raw? What do you think?
I think
you can't put him
honestly,
on Raw.
It could be either one. It would be he could be a definite.
It's going to be SmackDown
because
they're keeping SmackDown a 2-man booth.
Yeah, and if there's already a 3-man at the other one, it would make sense to be able to, you know, plug him right in, and then now you're back up to 3. But as for Jimmy Smith, I really feel like he's had an incredibly successful career. He's been basically in every top organization in multiple combat sports, so I don't see him necessarily going anywhere in the bed. You know, he's not going to like all of a sudden disappear and not be able to find work or something like that. I feel like really like we're looking at a couple contenders for him, especially if he moves his way back into the MMA sphere. It's like I could see him working with like the likes of a PFL or something next season, or you know, maybe Eagle FC if they start to get more active again. He could be commentating over there or something, or maybe it would be wild. It would be another step in a different direction, but maybe BKFC throws some money his direction and tries to bring him in. I feel like he would be a good addition to their commentary crew. But I feel like no matter where he goes, even if it is sometimes short-lived, he definitely adds a little bit of talent to the booth when he's there. It might not be because of his energy and stuff like that, to your point, Kyle, but he just he's very articulate with his mic work.
Well, I think in fights a lot of time you see that energy though, but that's because it's like second nature to him though, because he's been doing fighting for so long. Donald brings up a good point. He thinks he should go to Raw, but I mean, okay, Donald, with them saying it's going to be KP, Corey Graves, and Byron Saxton, how the hell does Pat McAfee fit in that? Do you really want a 4-man booth?
Somebody's got to go.
No, so you're saying Byron's got to go over KP?
I mean, yeah, because KP.
I mean, yeah,
he's going to be their lead guy, right? KP is.
Yeah, I would assume so.
Yes, I mean, Byron ain't doing play-by-play, and honestly, I mean, Byron's good. Don't get me wrong, but hey, there's room for him in other places. I don't know. When you're talking about Pat McAfee, you want to spice shit up. That's the guy to do it. So.
You're not wrong, and I mean that's why it wouldn't be necessarily a bad pick for him to go to Raw. But I just think if you, again, but then again, though, the idea of him and Wade Barrett going back and forth, holy shit, that'd be hilarious. With Barrett's like British wit and shit, and then you add Pat McAfee, and then I can just see Pat McAfee trying to do the accent and it being hilarious. So,
yes,
yeah, I can see that. Donald said Jimmy would fit well with ROH if Tony was smart. He signs Ian Riccaboni and puts him with Jimmy Smith because ROH is built off pure wrestling. So if Jimmy were to stay in a wrestling capacity, I don't think that would be a bad fit. Although something tells me I kind of think they're going to stick with Ian Riccaboni and Caprice Coleman, like the voices of Ring of Honor. But then again, you know, I mean, that brings up as good a question as any. I mean, do you guys have any other quick thoughts on the other teams before we talk a little bit about AEW?
Like you said, man, I'm surprised with the Booker T edition. Not that it's a bad fit. It's just I didn't think it would be him of all people. You know what I mean? It's going to be cool to have a veteran voice over there with, you know, the coming of age guys. I like that. but it just wasn't who I thought it was going to be, I guess. 'Cause like me and you talked about, Kyle, Booker T's pretty open to giving his brutal, honest thoughts on everybody. So the fact that he's going to be behind that desk it's going to bring something special, but could be controversial too, if you ask me.
Yeah, I was surprised with the announcements that they came out with. I know you guys are a lot more familiar, me being out of the sphere of wrestling, but it seemed like they were going in a different direction. Maybe this is Triple H's like attempt to try to kind of bring his reign in, I guess you could say, but it seemed like they were going in a different direction with their hires over the last couple of years, where it was people from entertainment realms, whether it be combat sports or the Pat McAfee's of the world and stuff like that. And for them to bring in more of the wrestling side again, it seems like, that's Triple H's doing, at least in my opinion.
Oh, for sure. I mean, there's no arguing that. And I mean, honestly, I think it's a good thing that that's what's happening. I mean, like, ultimately, it's good to have somebody like a Jimmy Smith, which is adaptable from like MMA to wrestling. But in a lot of ways, in the last few years, we've seen a lot of, top tier athletes, whether that's football players, volleyball players, baseball players, whatever it is, different kind of athletes that, that they've hired to NXT, and not all of them have really transitioned well because, ultimately you can have somebody who's a really good athlete, or in this case, a really good talker, but if they don't acclimate well to the world of wrestling, I don't know that it'll work. All the athletic ability in the world can be awesome, but if you don't, if it doesn't really mesh with you, I don't know that it ever really will.
One last thing on the Jimmy Smith thing, though, I am surprised that they didn't keep him around for at least the fight pit thing with Seth and Riddle.
You would think so.
You would have thought that he'd be the guy to really play-by-play that.
Who knows? Maybe he will be for that. I mean, it wouldn't be bad, but I mean, yeah, I would have thought that they would have got through that because Jimmy would be perfect for a fight pit, especially being able to give the insight on DC and stuff like that too. I mean, Donald, look, you're talking to a guy who's trying to do his thing commentating, so I got no problem with him looking at the indies. I agree with you. The guys from ICW do their thing too. I've checked them out on multiple occasions as well. J-Bone, what are your thoughts on what we saw from AEW, man? You had Jericho and Sammy Guevara versus Bryan Danielson and Daniel Garcia, who is still with the JAS, formerly of the JAS.
Oh, yeah. I like the story, man. I don't know where we're going with it, but all in all, like I said before, man, just having that guy getting the quote unquote rub with Jericho and all them, like that's doing so much for his career, his young career. You know what I mean?
There were a lot of people saying "fuck you" to him last night too, Donald.
Oh, yeah. See that?
We'll talk a little bit about.
I'm sorry. Did you see on social media the picture of Sammy? He's standing at the tag rope, and off in the crowd there's like it says something along the lines like hire an HR or something like that for AEW, like human resource management or something. But hey, you're not wrong though. You know what I mean? Like, dude, everything's so overshadowed right now by the shit that's going on in the back and outside of the ring over there. It's like, dude, you're still getting good wrestling, you're still getting good stories, but there needs to be a publicist in there like, hey, let's cut this shit off because like this shit shouldn't be leaking over like this all the time, man.
Well, and the problem is, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. That definitely does seem to be a legitimate like critique for sure. It seems to be like more of the story now is what's happening behind the scenes and stuff than it is what's happening during the shows, and that's never something you want as an entertainment thing. Like imagine a football team where the news is more about what's happening in the locker room than it is what's happening during the game. It's the same type of deal. That's always a bad sign. So, got to get something in order. That's for sure.
Well, and I mean, it doesn't help things that like you can't even deny that it's going on when they're like going back and forth on Twitter too. Like Donald said, I mean, at this point, he's gotten into it with Andrade and Eddie Kingston.
It's smacked
know,
by both of them.
and then when you got him on Twitter, literally like saying like go back to WWE, we all know you want to anyway, and saying how the wrestling business is all this drama and all that stuff. It's like, dude, like, I mean, hey, look, we all know that shit happens, but I think what Donald is like batting for 1,000 right now. You know, say what you want about Vince, but it took 10 years for us to find out about Booker T whooping Batista's ass. You know, like, look, dude, there's shit that happens, but like, you know, you hear people talk about all the time. There's time and place.
You think that's what made Batista start training? Is that why Batista ended up fighting?
It could be, dude.
I mean, hey, dude, maybe he said, bro, he kicked my ass. Maybe Booker T hit him with all them kicks, and Batista said, I got to learn how to wrestle so I can catch with them motherfuckers, take them down, and submit them. But
I remember back in the
question.
day when that was a big story. Sorry, but I remember that when that was a big story when he was making his way into MMA, and then he had a couple of amateur fights, if I'm not mistaken. Like I remember that being a big story in the MMA world.
he got his purple belt in jiu-jitsu. I mean, how legit, I don't know. But
he did get a belt somewhere down the line in jiu-jitsu. I do that.
Okay.
I mean, he got up to like a purple belt, or I don't know how high he is now, but I know he was at least at a purple belt.
That's legit. Yeah. I can't take nothing away from
Kyle. So I got Kyle questions for you. So a while back when the whole AEW media scrum thing was going on, we were talking about the difference between Vince being in control and Tony Khan being in control. Vince having the balls, Tony Khan's not having the balls. You remember all that conversation, but do you think this still goes under the umbrella of like, hey, I'm the boss, tighten the fucking ship? You know what I mean?
He won that fight, Donald.
Is that what we're gonna have to do here? Like, I mean, it's because think about when Vince was under the crown, man, he did not play about social media. You don't get your Twitch, all that shit. Like Vince was the last guy to tell you yes or no. What Vince says goes. And I feel like when it comes to Tony Khan, yeah, he might say this and this, but behind the scenes, I feel like dude may be a pushover, man, because it doesn't sound like he's really the guy. He's not the guy back there, you know, calling the shots at some of these things, man. Like, you got to have your wrestlers somewhere in there. Like, you can't tweet that. No, you cannot say that. You know what I mean? Like, there's got to be.
Well, I mean, dude, like the fact that CM Punk was able to say all the things he did, like, I mean, granted, we've seen the suspension at this point, but dude, had it not blown up in the way it did and gone into a fist fight, do you really think that CM Punk would have gotten suspended for that?
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I think Tony Khan would have booked it to make him look better, to be honest. He would have put it out in the ring. Hey, maybe say something in the ring. I mean, I'm not saying he says that stuff, but all in all, bottom line is I feel like he doesn't have control of the ship. That's
well, I mean, at least that's the picture that it gives you.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least to a degree, it has to. Well, there has to be some semblance of truth to it, right? Because to your point, like, especially, you know, not to harp on it or anything, but when you're trying to build a story in the wrestling world, there's certain things that you don't want people to say and stuff like that. And if you don't have the final say over people's social media, you know, posts and stuff like that, then it's gonna get in the way, whether it does now or in the future or later, you know, whatever the case.
Yeah.
And you can see a clear example of that right now. I feel like, I mean, he didn't push CM Punk back into the title shot after the injury and stuff like that for then all this to just blow up in his face. I'm sure that was not his intention, you know?
Oh, yeah. And I mean, the stuff with Sammy Guevara, don't get me wrong. I mean, I think it's been said multiple times. I mean, Sammy Guevara is one of the pillars of AEW, but you could be one of the pillars of AEW. But I mean, stupid shit like that keeps happening. I mean, again, first it was Andrade, then it was, or not at first it was Andrade. First it was Eddie Kingston, then it was Andrade. And the thing is, man, the crazy thing with social media is you see so many people, go back to WWE like you want to. Like, dude, if he really wanted to go back to WWE, like, he just got his homie Roosh there. Like, they're basically building Los Ingobernables. Now, granted, have they done a ton? You know, granted, they haven't done a whole lot with them yet, but I'm just saying, like, I've not heard him say that he wants to get out of there either. I mean, everybody always wants to say, you know, he wants to get out of there and he's trying to get fired. But, you know, like Donald said, I wasn't there. But if you're talking shit, you got to be able to throw hands to back it up. And, you know, Look,
And if you
dude, second
can't
time
fight,
that it.
don't talk shit. You know what I mean? Can't
You know,
talk,
but
man.
then again, none of us really know what's going on. And this is, again, where, like, we talk about all the time. Like, wrestling, what's the word? Wrestling, like, news sites and like the dirt sheets and all that stuff, dude. Like, so much shit that gets posted, dude, is such bullshit. That's why, like I say, like, until everything's, like, confirmed, it's confirmed.
Yeah.
But, I mean, again, this is the last thing I'll say as far as all that stuff goes, is just like, it just puts a bad look on it. Because, again, we say all that, but then again, we had great matches last night. Like you said, I like what we're seeing with the Daniel Garcia thing. I like what we're seeing with Jericho being the Ring of Honor champion. So many people are pissed about him being the Ring of Honor champion. If you guys are watching it, what do you guys think about him being the Ring of Honor champ or the Ring of Jericho champion? But what are your thoughts about the Ring of Jericho champion, man? I don't think that it's a bad thing, but I mean, that was a great match too. And I'm interested to see what happens with Daniel Garcia. I mean, who knows? Maybe Daniel Garcia takes the Ring of Honor championship and becomes the pure champion and the world champion and does what only his mentor, the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson's done. A million different ways it could go, but I definitely am a fan of that story, and Moxley versus Hangman definitely sounds like a good time to me.
Yeah. So as far as the Jericho thing, man, I know there's a lot of people that are upset about the whole Jericho, Ring of Jericho champion. I know he's kind of disgracing the title, right? I get that. Donald is batting 1,000 tonight, just for the record. But Jericho, man, he's fucking. I mean, he's the GOAT, dude. Anything, like I said before, anything Jericho touches turns to gold. So it goes both ways. Yeah, we don't like him to have the title. Okay, the diehard.
Isn't that kind of the point of a good heel?
Right. The diehard Ring of Honor fans like, this motherfucker, we got to get that title off him. So what's going to happen when you get your diehard Ring of Honor guy carrying the flag that finally beats Jericho? It's going to be a great day for Ring of Honor. And that's what wrestling's all about, man. You know what I mean? Get you pissed off, get you invested, and then get you up there, bring you down. It's all about, the story and the emotion, dude. So let's ride with it, dude. I love it.
Yeah, there's definitely a way that they can spin it in the right direction, to your point. Like, make people upset, make people mad that he's shitting on the title and their thoughts, and then have, somebody that you want to build get the title off his back. But like I had brought up when the whole Ring of Honor title was even mentioned, if you're gonna do it, man, you got to do something with the brand. You can't just have a title that's just the Ring of Honor title. That's not, And like I said then, and I still feel the same way. If not,
So
even
Donald, do you
now.
think Danielson's going to take the belt off him? Okay, so and we didn't get to that yet. We'll talk about that in a minute. You got Danielson versus Jericho 3 in Toronto, Canada next week. I mean, it's going to be a banger of a match. I don't know, man. So you really think so Donald says Danielson takes the belt. What say you, J-Bone?
I'd be cool with that. I mean, hey, like I said, it'd be good booking.
Yeah.
At the same time, if they keep going with it, I could see them keep going with it too, because like Corey said, we need to find a way to build to the brand. You know what I mean? Maybe get a pay-per-view in, and what better way to have that big pay-per-view? Like, hey, Ring of Honor starting, this show. So by celebration, we're going to kick it off with this big pay-per-view, have the big Ring of Honor celebration. What better way to take it off the biggest heel holding that title?
So, okay, I hear you. I hear that, but here's my thing. Here's kind of how I think it would be dope if it went that way. I'm not mad with Bryan Danielson having a title. Hot damn it. I think Bryan Danielson is always in line to have a title. But what I'm saying is Daniel Garcia should be the one to take that belt off of Jericho. Let him do it, and let him do what only his mentor has done, and be only the second person to be the Ring of Honor Pure Champion and the Ring of Honor World Champion simultaneously, and then have him fight his mentor again.
Yeah.
Because remember, Daniel Garcia beat Bryan Danielson and submitted Bryan Danielson. Hence why his submission is now called the Dragon Tamer. Would it not be dope ass storytelling and make a perfect build to a match to have Daniel Garcia be able to be the one to take that belt off of Jericho from inside of the JAS and then have to go back and tangle it up with his mentor, who's the only other Ring of Honor pure champion and world champion simultaneously? I mean, hell, Tony Khan, if you're listening, I'll give you a high five. Just bring me out for the idea. Just
that'd be a hell of a pay-per-view main event for a Ring of Honor brand pay-per-view, right?
Well, let's talk about that briefly, though, because like I've heard this thrown out a couple times. I've suggested this. Personally, I think what needs to happen with Ring of Honor, I mean, we have Rampage on Fridays. I've said this for a while now. Turn it into a 2-hour show or something of that ilk and make it the Ring of Honor show.
Yeah. Can we do it Saturday mornings, though? I miss Saturday morning.
Saturday morning.
Like Saturday at like 11?
No, we can't do it Saturday mornings because I have to work.
Oh, yeah. I guess if you're making the calls, then we definitely can't do that.
Fuck yeah, I'm making the calls. You didn't know?
Tony Khan, don't book it early in the morning because Kyle's got to work. But no, remember the old school?
Okay,
WCW
Donald's
Saturday
got an
morning?
idea with Danielson too. He
shit.
says Danielson has to win and then have Garcia turn. He said that's the bigger story in my opinion.
Hey, I'm cool with that too. However, we have to get it. I'm cool with it. Garcia being in that title picture.
But do you really see Garcia being a heel out of all this? Because I don't really see him going back with the JAS after this.
No, I mean, not going back, but why can't he do it on his own? Become a heel, and
I feel like they're turning him a baby face though with all this stuff with Jericho.
Yeah, it seems to be where we're going with it, to be honest. So, hey, we're gonna see. Cool thing is we're invested in it. We're watching, so I'm excited to see what happens. You can go a lot of ways with that, which is cool too. It's really not
man, all I know is this is one story that AEW has that's money. And you know what? You need to get your money together. So make sure you check out our homies at G3 Payroll Tax and Accounting and tell them Knockouts and 3 Counts sent you. It's going to be time for tax season again soon. So if you need any accounting done, tax stuff done, hit up Jack and the homies at G3 and let them know that Knockouts and 3 Counts sent you. And just buy me a beer when you get that big refund.
I thought he was talking to me for a second. And J-Bone, you need to get your money together.
You need to get that money together.
Hey,
damn, you just wanted me to like call you out on everybody.
Hey, did you watch me buy those couple beers at Pine Knob last night for $13.50 a beer?
I know. And then every time they'd turn that little machine towards you and it'd be like, are you gonna leave a tip or are you gonna be an asshole? And it's like, oh, come on, dude.
I'll be an asshole.
Were you?
Look,
was
let's be honest. I peed it out like 5 minutes later. So
what's worse, no tip or 50 cents? Because I'm that 50 cents.
No, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. I don't know about 50 cents. I would personally rather have no tip.
Well, it's electronic, right? So at the end, it'd be one thing, right, if I left 50 cents on the table for a waitress or some shit. But we're talking at a venue like this where there's thousands of people that are buying beer through these people. At the end of the night, an extra 50 cents through every person, that would be, that'd be at least $5. Yeah?
While everybody's watching, it's a good thing that we don't have to worry about things like that because we get paid so much from the podcast moves. You know what I mean? Kyle pays us well, so it's all good.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kyle.
Shit. Let motherfuckers think I got bankrolls over here. Corey was big pockets last night. Jesus.
Yeah, boy.
Shit. 3 bears deep, hoodie, fucking this guy. Fucking A. But yeah, dude. Let's talk about Extreme Rules. Let's talk about money. I had people hitting me up because they're doing the DraftKings pool for Extreme Rules and all that. And I had people hitting me up asking what my picks were going to be and who I think should win and all these kind of things. So, J-Bone, I know you got the card up over there. You tell us where to start and let us know what you're thinking.
Top, man.
Donald, hold on. Donald, I got to ask you this before we go into Extreme Rules. Everybody's been talking about Bailey and whether they want to keep seeing damage control and all these things. Bailey is money. Do you want to keep seeing damage control, though? That's my question to you. Go ahead and start where you want.
We're going to start at the top, man, since there's only 6 matches for the card, which, like we touched on earlier, pretty cool because we don't have an abundance of matches, less time for wrestling. we're gonna get more wrestling out of these matches.
What up, though, Joey? We was just talking 5-finger death punch and AEW and Sammy Guevara, and if Sammy Guevara is over here starting shit in AEW, and we're just getting to our picks for Extreme Rules, you'll have to let us know who you got and if you're watching.
So if this pay-per-view is starting off with the way the cards lined up, we're gonna start off with the Brawling Brutes versus Imperium in a 6-man, labeled as a 6-man tag, good old-fashioned Donnybrook match. Not sure what that is, Kyle. Maybe you could fill me in on that, but
I'm gonna guess a tornado tag rules match, where there's like
some
no
kind
tags.
of brawl, right? Some kind of very physical brawl. That's gonna be dope. But yeah, dude, the Brawling Brutes versus Imperium. Like I said, there's gonna be a lot of chops. There's gonna be a lot of slams. It's gonna be a fight, dude. It's gonna be probably a street fight. That's what I'm getting out of it.
Dude, anything that puts Gunther and Sheamus in the same ring to fight each other again is cool with me. Because, like I said, they beat the living piss out of each other in Cardiff. Like, they beat the piss out of each other. Like, these fucking dudes' chests looked like hamburger meat. And like I said, I'm good on it. Neither one of you needs to chop me.
He's still holding the IC title, right?
He is.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Good point by Joey. Joey says the Brawling Brutes win if Sheamus doesn't win the IC title tomorrow night. That's a very good point. Because you have them facing off on the season premiere of SmackDown. As far as Extreme Rules goes, I feel like the Brawling Brutes win this one. I think either Vinci or Kaiser take the pin. I think the Brawling Brutes win. But again, I agree with your point, though, Joey. I think what happens in that Intercontinental title match very well could make a pick. Who you got, Brawling Brutes, or are you going with Sheamus? Or not Sheamus, Imperium?
I'm with you on this one. I think the Brutes are going to win this. But, yeah, I didn't know that IC title match was tomorrow, so that kind of throws a wrench in the plans, depending on what happens there. But I think
Donald, okay, I know you love ICW, my dude. I'm with you, but like I don't think we're ever going to see gusset plates used in Extreme Rules matches.
It is Extreme Rules. Let's go.
I'm just saying I don't think we see gusset plates in a WWE match ever in my life, but
some skewers or something, man. Let's get it.
Where's Atticus Kogar when you need him? You can check out Atticus Kogar if you hit that subscribe button. If you guys are new here, make sure you hit that like button as well. I'm with you guys. I think it's the Brutes. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I think Sheamus and them are going to win this one. What do you got next, J-Bone?
Next up, we got Edge versus Finn Balor in an I
like
match.
This one.
This could be a good match. This could be a very good match. So
Edge has got to win this one, dude. But damn it, I don't want to see Finn lose any more big matches, dude.
Yeah, that's where I'm kind of torn. I can't imagine Edge saying I quit by any means.
Not now.
But at the same time, I don't like to see Finn lose again. You know, the whole Judgment Day thing, like, man, it was so good to start, but I just feel like they're losing all the time. They're always losing when it matters. You know what I mean? So how strong are you if you just keep losing? So I don't
okay, Joey's got a good idea for that, though. That could still help with Finn, though. I'm not mad at that either. You know, he says Edge wins and it causes the demon to return.
I'd like to see that. The demon.
I'm not mad at that, especially if he like did a little bit different paint, like did it kind of in like black and purple sort of, since he's since they got the Judgment Day thing. Like, I think that could be really cool. But I'm with you guys. I think Edge wins this one. I don't think Edge says I quit here. But again, I just really don't want to see Finn lose another match like that, because, dude, I mean, I get it. You're trying to make chicken salad out of chicken shit with what you had with Judgment Day and all that stuff. But again, that being said, I'm a big fan of Finn Balor, and I think Finn Balor, especially under the Triple H like banner, like I think we're gonna see a lot more from Finn Balor. Joey said his wife says, "What if Edge passes out and is unable to continue?" So what are you saying? Like, if Judgment Day jumps him and just beats him and incapacitates him? I mean,
I mean, we still got to think. We got the.
You're not wrong.
We got Mysterio, Priest, Rhea Ripley on the outside still. We still got Rey Mysterio somewhere in there.
And Dom.
You know, who knows? Somebody's going to get involved. Maybe there's something happens where, you know, it's either, hey, I'm gonna break Mysterio's neck, or you better quit. You know, you remember what happened with Edge back in the day with Christian and all that, and then Seth Rollins was gonna break his neck or whatever it was.
Could AJ Styles turn and help Finn Balor?
AJ Styles, another wild card. So it remains to be seen. Our eyes are gonna be on it, that's for sure.
That's what I like, though. I like that there's all the other elements into it, because honestly, when they went in and they chose the I Quit match, I'm like, oh man, I don't know.
Yeah,
but again, like we were talking about before the show, I'm just glad that there's more stipulations this year, because last year there was literally like one stipulation throughout all the matches, and it's supposed to be Extreme Rules. So,
ready for the next one?
Yeah.
This one might be my favorite match of the night. And there's some good matches on this card, but this one could be one of my favorites. We got Bianca Belair versus Bayley in a ladder match for the Raw Women's Championship.
That'll be money.
I'm excited.
It's going to be a good one.
Now, Corey, I want to ask you, because I know you were high on Bianca Belair for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think are we too early to lose the title to Bayley? Is it that little era of Bianca over? What do you think about that?
Yet again, like I was saying, kind of with the Jimmy Smith thing earlier, I feel like she's lost a bit of momentum as well. So I don't know if it's necessarily too early, but that being said, I feel like Bayley, man, being that she was gone away with so long with the injury and stuff like that, and the fact that she is kind of not fresh back, she's fresh back on the scene, right? Like she was already, you know, a proven asset and stuff, but now she's reinvigorated herself. So I don't know. Either way, I feel like it's an interesting dynamic to, you know, bring her in, and then it very well could be time, but I don't know. I don't know which direction they decide to take it. So I don't know who I would give my official pick with, but I feel like either one, there's a viable story there, and that's what always makes wrestling matches interesting, right?
Yeah. Yep. Kyle,
you gotta make. Man, that's a chicken shit answer. You got to pick one of them.
Corey flips a coin.
You got to pick one of them, damn it.
Okay, so I think Belair retains then. If you're putting me out. But I don't think it's but that's what I'm saying. I think that either way, there's a viable story with either direction you take it. I think if Belair wins, I feel like then Bayley can come back, say that, hey, I just wasn't quite ready. You didn't see the best of me yet, yada, yada, and build onto that and build into a rematch again. But
that's a very good. I didn't even think of that. That's a good idea too. You know, Joey said, what if Naomi and Sasha come back to help Bianca, because Damage Control also has the tag team titles.
Yeah. So I'll just give my pick real quick. I do think Bayley's going to win. I think she's taking over.
Wow, 2 for new champion.
She's red hot. But I also think by this happening, we're going to Survivor Series. We need that War Games match. Bianca wants that belt back, but she's going to need some help. So she's got to get a little help from her friends, and I think it's going to be, you know who we're talking about, Kyle. I think it's going to be the big return, Survivor Series, Sasha Banks coming back. That's huge, right? And I don't even know.
I'm still interested to see, we've heard, obviously, with Triple H being there, things are different at WWE, but we've seen on Sasha Banks' Twitter, she doesn't even have Sasha Banks on her Twitter anymore. Yeah. She's got her regular, she's got her regular name and all that stuff on there. So it'll be interesting. I definitely don't think we've seen the last of Sasha Banks and Naomi by any stretch of the imagination, but it'll be interesting to see where and if they come back. With that being said, all of you guys who are watching, we appreciate you guys. Make sure you hit that like button, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on YouTube. Make sure you hit that button, subscribe button, share button, all that stuff. And again, make sure you check out the homies at Michigan's Finest. Use that code KO3MF and get you 10% off. But with that being said, what's the next match on the Extreme Rules docket?
Next up, we got Drew McIntyre versus Karrion Kross in a strap match.
No way she is not going to New Japan.
Donald's got all the hot takes, man.
That's a hot take.
That is a hot take.
Yeah.
Big time hot take.
I wouldn't be mad at it, but I just do not see it, especially with all the Mandalorian stuff and all that too. No way.
No. So Drew McIntyre carrying Cross in a strap match.
This is gonna be dope.
Should be good. Kyle, what do you think?
Joey picked first. He says carrying Cross gets the dub. I'm very much looking forward to this because I think this is the carrying Cross that we should have saw all together, not the guy in the fucking S&M suit.
Yeah.
But
I thought you were gonna be him for Halloween. No, I thought that's
no.
Happened. Oh, okay.
You sure?
There's a hint.
I got you.
But yeah, if you're at Cheapy Creepy, you can come say what's up. I'll take a picture with you. Make sure you tag us at KO3C Pod and all that good stuff. But as far as this one, I'm torn because like Drew went losing back to back, right? Because he lost to Roman, albeit with all the hoopla and shenanigans that they had at Clash at the Castle. But to have him lose for carrying Cross, you know what, dude? Fuck it. Donald, I'll jump on the train with you. I'm going to go with carrying Cross. I mean, who better to put Cross on the map as a legitimate talent than Drew McIntyre? So I'll go with carrying Cross on this. I don't mind the hair being grown out, dog. Like, it doesn't bother me. Do you think he's got to shave his head again, J-Bone?
I mean, I think he looks more intimidating with the shave for sure. But
I'm not mad at it. You let this man have his movie star good looks, and don't be mad because Scarlett really is that hot in person too.
I'm just jealous because I don't got a good head of hair. Some of us do, Corey.
Yeah, the hairline's still strong. All right, hairline is still
it's what
strong.
it is. We're still waiting on that shampoo sponsor, by the way. I'm not taking my.
So is Booker T. He's been waiting since WrestleMania 18, but any of you guys who remember that storyline?
The long hair hangs around. I keep shedding the way I am, but we'll see about that.
But hey, I'm with you guys though. I think Karrion Kross wins this one, man. I think it's going to be a very, very physical match. It's going to be violent, and I mean, but what better way to establish him as a top guy?
I agree, Donald.
What did he say? I didn't see it. What did
he
say?
He said he doesn't need to shave his head. He's like he was on the Indies.
This is true.
Yeah.
Either way,
again,
he's coming away with the dub.
Dude, they still have like the dopest entrance in wrestling. Yeah. There's no denying that Scarlett adds a whole nother level to his entrance, and both of these guys are really physical, so they are going to beat the shit out of each other.
Yes.
They are going to beat the shit out of each other. Both of them are going to have welts for days with that fucking strap. And yeah, I think Karrion Kross is going to win, but I feel like this is just going to be they're going to beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah. All right, next up, this is going to be a good one, man. Corey, we're going to start with you on this one, though. We got Matt Riddle versus Seth freaking Rollins with DC as the guest referee in the Fight Pit match. Where are you going with this one?
What do you think about DC being in the cage first?
I think DC wins by double knockout. That's my official pick. No, I love the fact that they're. I love the fact that they're finally bringing him in. I know he's made many rumblings about wanting to at least make some solid appearances in WWE. Right, like he's former. Not only is his nickname DC because of his name Daniel Cormier, he's DC the double champ, and I feel like he's earned his right onto WWE stage at least once or twice. So I'm excited to see what this role is. Like I always kind of do. I watch all these shows, so I like to kind of interject my thoughts from what I hear on the shows. Ariel Helwani, I think, did a great job of breaking it down. He said him and DC have been going back and forth about it, and he said DC needs to come in hot, not give any, not play the I'm happy to be here game, not be a fan of wrestling or something. Come in. He was pitching the idea of come in like the old school wrestling coach, like how he would in some of his fights, tuck in the shirt, pull up the pants to the belly button.
Come in the tracksuit.
Be in there and, take control of these boys and make sure you run, get your point across in the match. And as much as I laughed about the gimmick while he was talking about it, I was like, he's kind of right. Like, he does need to go in there, take control, and assert himself in front of a bunch of fans that I'm sure a lot of them will be familiar with him, right? Like, you know, the likes of you guys and stuff. But the WWE has a ton of younger fans and a ton of people that don't necessarily love to watch people get beat up on, you know, in MMA. So if he can really interject himself and make himself known as a potential character and show that he could present some value, I could see him getting more work out of this in the future. Yeah. As for the match, though, I gotta go Riddle, right? But I feel like Rollins is kind of like what I was saying earlier. He's a proven commodity, and he always will be, and he always makes matches very interesting and brings the best out of his opponents, whether win, lose, or draw. So I feel like that's why he's maintained his spotlight, I guess you could say, without always being the winner. He doesn't necessarily win. I would like to actually know what his record is in WWE, because I'm sure he's one of them guys that he bounces back and forth between, you know, wins and losses so much. But he's constantly at the top because his performances are worthy of the top. But I feel like this is going to be one of those where we're seeing him take a loss to Riddle. I feel like Riddle's the one more on the ascension towards the top.
Yeah, I'd have to agree there. I think Riddle's going to take it. I think DC is going to get involved some way, shape, or form physically. It's probably going to be with Rollins. I mean, he might have to, like you said, I think he needs to come in there hot, come in there as the enforcer, and he's going to have to go both ways with, hey, you ain't going to do this shit in my cage type of thing. You know what I mean? But to your point, Corey, this is a little stat fact here. Seth Rollins' last pay-per-view win was at the Royal Rumble. So he's 1-6 in pay-per-view matches this year, which is kind of a weird look, right? Considering where he's at on the echelon, it's kind of a weird look. So if he keeps losing, I mean, what does that say? But I mean, when it comes down to it.
But can you have one of those
guys
with DC in there? Because DC is in there to make this like a fair fight, and this is supposed
fight, right?
You know, like I feel like for that reason, like it can't be like any shenanigans stuff. That being said, I want to talk about this point that Donald made. So Donald said he thinks it's going to be Riddle, but he thinks they stole the idea from ICW. Now, Joey says they didn't steal the fight pit from ICW. It's another version of the Lions Den match from 1998. I personally agree with what Joey said because A, they did do this when Ken Shamrock was in WWF. Number two, with Riddle being an MMA guy, the first fight pit match that they did in WWE, or what they dubbed as the fight pit, had to do with Riddle too. I believe like this is their updated version of what a WWE MMA cage would be, in my opinion. I don't know much about the ICW version, but I personally don't think that this is a copy. I think this is what a WWE version of an MMA cage would be. And since they have the catwalk over top of it, it does remind me a lot of the 1998 Lions Den match. What do you guys think? Do you think it's a rip-off thing, or do you think
it very well could be, or you know, whatever the case be. Like you said, Kyle, I'm not necessarily familiar with the ICW, you know, layout.
That I agree with 100%. The fight pit was definitely stole from Bloodsport.
But isn't that what WWE does best, though, right? You can say all you want that they ripped this off, they ripped that off, whatever the case, but they take what they feel as though is the best in wrestling, and then they make the best out of it, in their opinion, or at least try to. They put, you know, the highest tier athletes and stuff that they can in the match, and then they put the highest level production, the marketing and stuff behind it. So yeah, they may borrow ideas here and there, but they really try that, at least from what I've seen in my experience as a wrestling fan, they try their best to innovate. Yeah, everybody rips off everybody, but you try to formulate it in a way where it makes your product stand out above the rest, right? And I feel like that's what they've done throughout the history, is they've tried their best to innovate. When they have a good idea, they'll innovate on their own thoughts, but more often than not, it's been done somewhere else, but they add their own spin to it. And I feel like that's what we're seeing here.
I mean, it's hard to find anything original in wrestling nowadays anyway. You know what I mean? Best thing you do is find something, spice it up a little bit. And I think that's what we're doing. So it is what it is.
I completely agree. Now, Bloodsport, I agree with you. The Bloodsport thing definitely, like what they did with the WWE like Fight Club thing that they did, that definitely looked just like Bloodsport. Not saying that it didn't. But as far as the pit thing, yeah, he had the pit, but the ICW pit, no, and again, I'm not arguing any of what you're saying. You know, Stephanie didn't invite GCW to Mania for no reason. I'm not saying that by any means, but as far as like them stealing the fight pit, I just don't agree with that part, only because, like I said, we've seen different iterations of that, like the Lion's Den when Ken Shamrock and Dan Severn were in there. And then now you've got Riddle, which we didn't see the fight pit until Riddle came in there, and those were to be like the equalizer for somebody like Riddle. So to me, like this is their adaptation to MMA more than I believe ripping somebody off. Now, as far as the GCW fight pit thing, oh, dude, for sure. I'm not arguing that. Hell, I loved Bloodsport. Bloodsport was awesome. It was definitely one of my favorite shows of WrestleMania weekend. Can't wait to see it again. Shout out to our friend Lindsay Snow, who happens to be your only female Bloodsport winner, which you can go check out multiple episodes with Lindsay and check out her badass tattoos as well. What do we got next, J-Bone?
All right, this is labeled the main event of the night, man. We got Liv Morgan versus Ronda Rousey in the only Extreme Rules match for the WWE SmackDown Women's Championship. Thoughts?
So I will say this. I think the Extreme Rules match is the best way for them to try to do this, to try to make Liv Morgan be credible as a champion, because I think anybody with half a brain knows that Ronda Rousey could destroy her. That being said, I think that what we saw on SmackDown and having Liv lose her shit and beat the holy hell out of Lacey Evans with the kendo stick and put her through the table and showing that edge and showing that she's not afraid to get a little dirty to win a match, I think definitely helps it. I don't think we're going to see a long title reign from Liv. I think Ronda wins this match unless somebody comes out that's going to start a feud with Ronda next. Now, but I'm going to say this, and I want it out here on the show. I've been saying this for weeks. I want to see Ronda and Shayna come together as a tag team and just beat the fuck out of people for a while and let them have the tag team titles so that they can be like legit. You want to make those titles legit again? Tell me them having the titles isn't legit, because who the fuck's going to beat them?
Right. No, I'm with that. I think that'd be great. I'd be totally cool with that.
You think we're going Ronda versus Shayna route, though, Joey? Because I felt like they might team up.
I wouldn't
be mad at that either.
Yeah. I mean, to your point, Kyle, I mean, I feel like basically that's the thing with Ronda, right? Like that's what made her so entertaining in the wrestling sphere to begin with, is the fact that, you know, if there wasn't any wrestling rules, if it was a fight for fight, she's probably kicking all these girls' ass, right? And that's what made it so entertaining to begin with. And then she's worked on her craft from there and made herself an entertaining wrestler in the process. So, right. I feel like the Liv Morgan thing, though, they're putting her on the, to your point, at least labeled the main event of the night, and I feel like they're doing that for a reason. They're not. I would be surprised if freshly into her title reign they give a main event slot to her just to watch her get her title ripped away. So I feel like we'll probably watch some way in fashion that Liv walks out still the champ. But to your point, I feel like if it was really a fight, we would see Ronda go in there and probably kick her ass. But I feel like, given the spotlight that this match is being given, I feel like we're
Donald's coming in hot. Ronda's awful. Now, is she the best on the mic? Maybe not. Ronda needs to be short and sweet on the mic, but awful.
I left that part out. Definitely, I left that part out. But the thing is you can say awful all you want, but when you're comparing her to other WWE athletes that was their sole focus,
and the eyes she brings.
Okay, but that we're talking just on her skill base and her performances in there right now. And that being said, she doesn't look like a lot of the other female wrestlers that have made that their career path and choice throughout life, but she brings in a different, more physical attribute that these other girls don't, and there's a level of like physical intimidation, I guess you can say, that she has that these other girls don't, even if it's not a size thing, even if she is undersized.
I'm not mad at that at all, Joey. Hot damn it, I've said that ever since she was going to go heel.
Yes. We've been saying that for a long time. We have been saying this for a long time. Paul Heyman would be the perfect fit for her.
Jade Cargill, I have a lot of hope in her upside though, dude, because she's still really young. And she is a fucking freak athlete, and say what you want, that woman looks like $1 million.
I agree. Did we get a pick from you, Kyle, on that?
All right. As far as who I think's going to win, yeah, I'm taking Ronda.
Okay. I honestly don't know this one. I'm going to flip a coin. Bam, coin flip. I'm going to take Liv because I think there's something bigger for Ronda, I think. But I just want to – fuck that. I'm going to get right to my point here. So this whole pay-per-view, because that's labeled as the main event, obviously card subject to change. I can't see them going off the air with Liv or Ronda holding the belt. That's not what we're here for, right? This whole thing is overshadowed by this White Rabbit thing. And I think that's well known. So with that being the main event, it's throwing me off, to be honest.
But do we know that that's the match order yet, though?
As of right now, that's what's listed. Card subject always to change. We don't have any bloodline. We have no mention of Sami Zayn, nothing like that on there. So
that's true, though, because if Roman's not going to be on there, then the women's title should be the main event.
Right. So where do we go with the White Rabbit if, in fact, this is happening? And rumor says that it is, according to the QR codes. The latest QR code puts the latitude, longitude right there at the arena on that particular night. So
okay, but it did that in Canada, too, though.
True, but why do this at a pay-per-view?
Yeah,
maybe. I don't know. Maybe we get a bigger hint, a bigger clue. I don't know, but Kyle, would you be happy going off the air with just Ronda or Liv Morgan just holding the belt and good night? Thanks for watching Extreme Rules. Here's Liv Morgan holding the title. Like
Joey says, he thinks Karrion Kross versus McIntyre, but
I'd be cool with that too. I mean, I'd honestly be
dude, the White Rabbit thing is overshadowing this show for sure. I wouldn't be shocked if that's how we go off the air. I think they're not going to be able to drag this out for much longer. If they don't, they're going to have some kind of major ass clue. If they don't have somebody come back, there's got to be some kind of like major clue that all but gives it away almost.
Right.
Because I mean, as much as you've built it up, I've enjoyed the hell out of it. Don't get me wrong. But I kind of feel like you kind of got to.
I just don't think you can end a show like that. Especially, keep in mind, this is a Saturday night show. There's going to be a lot of eyes on this. You know what I mean? So,
and do you think it's going to be the Fiend that comes back, or do you think we're going to see like a cross of the two?
I hope we get a cross of the two. I really want to see the original Bray Wyatt, the NXT Bray Wyatt, with a cross of the Fiend. I mean, you could obviously.
I think that the Fiend needs to be like a demented alter ego,
right?
Like I think that's what that needs to be. Like it needs to be kind of like a cross of what it was before. He doesn't need to be the Fiend all the time, but at the same time, I think like the demented alter ego is definitely the way to go. They need to drag it out longer. It has everyone's eyes on it and people watching.
It does.
I agree. I agree with you. I'm not mad if they do that, but how do you do that so that
it doesn't lose hype?
That's another
people don't.
That's another good point too. They're in Philly, and Philly's a ruthless fucking crowd, dude.
Yes, that crowd is.
Speaking of which, Mega Ran is probably gonna be it. I just put 2 and 2 together. Mega Ran and the homie Derek are probably headed to Extreme Rules this weekend, bastards. Because I just put 2 and 2 together that they're on their way to Philly right now.
Mega Ran's involved in this somehow.
It's Mega Ran. Mega Ran is the White Rabbit. You heard it here on Knockouts and 3 Counts. All right, before we get out of here, Corey, I'll let you talk about it first. What are your thoughts on Le'Veon Bell versus fucking Uriah Hall?
Wild. That my first initial thought when I seen it scroll across my phone earlier is, wow, all right. Le'Veon Bell is really taking this fighting thing a little more serious than I was anticipating, right? Like fighting
He's got
Adrian
more balls
Peterson,
than Jake Paul.
Fighting Adrian Peterson is one thing, right? Fighting a fellow ex-NFL, running back, somebody that was at basically the same skill level he was, and somebody I'm sure he's shared the field with multiple times. That's one thing, right? But to go in there with an
Bell
actual,
gets knocked the fuck out.
I feel like he probably does, right? But does Uriah Hall actually put his fucking hands together, right? That's the thing that Uriah Hall.
What scares me
dealt
is
with.
Uriah Hall's got a chin, doesn't have a chin though.
No, and Uriah Hall has just been notorious for kind of like doing enough to win fights, but not going out there and really showcasing the skills that he is definitely capable of. Like he's
How is he gonna headlock knock him out, Donald? It's a boxing fight.
Who knows with this one? I mean, but realistically, though, it's crazy. It's a wild matchup. It's definitely a good way to bring eyeballs onto that already entertaining pay-per-view fight. That I'm just surprised.
Speaking of Meg he likes my tweet as I bring him up.
That was the whole thing. Was just an utter sense of surprise. Uriah Hall going from retired like a month and a half ago out of his UFC contract, doesn't want to fight anymore, to all of a sudden I'm fighting Le'Veon Bell on it, and freaking Paul undercard is just it's strange. It's strange. I felt like if he was going to go any direction, it would have been somewhere else in the MMA sphere, maybe a PFL or something like that. But here we are, is what I'll say. Here we are, and yeah, he should beat Le'Veon Bell. He definitely should. Is he going to? I don't fucking know. I really don't. And I'm not confident with all the skills that he has and all the knockouts he has against top level competition. I'm not confident that he's going to beat Le'Veon Bell.
I'm not either, and I think that's why Le'Veon Bell took this fight. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and that's the messed up part. I feel like this isn't as big as the Anderson Silva Paul fight, but it's close, man.
It's on the Anderson Silva fight, though.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like for the actual,
damn,
like,
that's a number. It's $700 million in debt.
Triller's in debt like that. Jeez.
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
I mean, Triller's definitely not doing the greatest. Their only real prospering thing that I know of that they still do in the combat sphere is BKFC, and that was they literally purchased BKFC. It wasn't BKFC was already going in a successful direction, and then they purchased stakeholders' rights in it. So, as for Triller, yeah, I'm not necessarily surprised, but if I'm not mistaken, these MVP cards are not associated with Triller at all anymore. These are all Showtime boxing. So
no, this is Showtime boxing.
Yeah, it's just Showtime.
This is Showtime boxing.
Yeah, the Triller thing has nothing to do with this.
Yeah, Triller's out of the sideshow stuff. He's partnered up with Showtime Boxing at this point.
Yeah.
Like I said,
what's your thoughts on the fight, Kyle? You didn't really.
I don't like it with a guy like Uriah Hall because Uriah Hall's taken some nasty knockouts, and so for him to come back out, I feel like this is another example of an MMA guy whose chin's already gotten tagged up a bunch, has got a good chance of getting caught. I think Uriah Hall should win.
Should.
But
lots of shoulds right now.
Right. Do I trust it? No. Do I trust it? No.
Can we? Is this going to be? Is there going to be betting lines on this fight? This should be, right?
There should be. It's a professional
there will
bout,
be. Yeah, there will be.
But what another, I guess, interesting wrinkle is it's only a 4-round fight too, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm curious to see what kind of action we see come the
I think it all depends on Uriah Hall in this fight, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, it all depends on how he tries to fight. If he goes out there and tries to knock his head off and doesn't actually fight well, he's going to get caught. If he actually fights like a fighter and boxes Le'Veon Bell, he should beat him.
Should.
Okay.
I'm not saying that Uriah Hall can't go across.
I'm just gonna come out and say it. I'm taking Le'Veon Bell knockout, dude. Let's go. Win me some money. Fuck it.
Fuck it.
And because
And
I haven't
you know
got to
what?
ring the bell this whole show, we're gonna ring the bell on Uriah Hall. He's done, dude. First round. I'm gonna put on first round too. I'm gonna come back rich. I'm gonna have a big old gold chain instead of this little whack one, this little thin thing. You're gonna call me Big Money J-Bone because I'm gonna win a lot of money off that fight.
I mean,
Well, Big Money J-Bone might be the way to go.
If he wins, it probably is knockout. That's for sure. But it's just an interesting matchup, man. It really is. Of all the fights that I could have seen, come across my phone, that was not the one I was expecting.
Yeah.
Yep, and we're not going to really have time to get into this one, but we also heard, we were talking about Joey Beltran versus Josh Burns, but it looks like Joey Beltran's going to fight Houston Alexander in Bare Knuckle FC, so that's going to be interesting.
That should be a banger right there. That's for sure.
I feel like it should, man. But I mean, dude, Houston Alexander is a scary motherfucker, dude.
And he can crack. And Beltran in these last couple fights has not been looking at him quite himself. I feel like Joey Beltran's been an amazing fighter, and I feel like he's relied on his chin, especially a lot in this BKFC career of his. And I feel like maybe we're starting to see those days start to maybe catch up to him. And
it's definitely going to be tough, and it's not one that he wants to test chins with. That's for sure.
And another, I know you said you didn't want to jump into that one too deep. So another one though that I was kind of surprised by the matchup. Frankie Edgar is got his retirement bout, or at least that's what he plans it to be. He said unless something crazy comes up after the fact, that's going to be his 30th UFC fight, and that's where he wants to call it.
Wow.
But he takes on Chris Gutierrez. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Gutierrez. He's the one. He's made quite a few public bouts with fighting for custody with his kids and stuff like that and stuff. But Chris Gutierrez,
I think it's
an
a fun
entertaining
fight.
fighter. Yeah, it's just surprising if you're talking Frankie Edgar in his retirement bout. And
but who else are you going to put him in there with?
Cruz. I felt like the Cruz matchup was a perfect.
But is Cruz ready to fight again that soon, dude? He took a nasty fucking knockout.
Yeah, true. Good point.
He took a nasty fucking knockout, dude. I don't want to see if Dominic Cruz is going to be on the tail end of his career. I don't want to see him go back in there if he just got his fucking bell rung.
Even couldn't you call freaking Uriah Favors old ass and have him come fight again? Like he's always talking about how he's always down.
I don't want to see him come back out like that.
Yeah, but
dude.
I don't want to see.
I don't mind him seeing fight. I don't mind seeing him fight a guy that's at least going to scrap with him. That's the kind of fight that Frankie wants. And at least if you're going to let him go out in a fight where he's going to fucking fight.
That's for sure.
And if Gutierrez wins, how not to have a bigger win for a guy like that to be like a name-making thing? I don't think it's a bad matchup, dude, because, I mean, there's not a lot of other names unless you put him in there with somebody older that I'm just like, oh, yeah, that's a great fight for him to go out on. And even at that, if you're going to say, okay, let's have him go out on an older fight, do you want to disrespect for a guy like Frankie Edgar by having him, just fight a bum so that he can win? I would feel like a guy like Frankie Edgar doesn't want to go out like that. I mean, you want to talk about fights that I don't know why they're happening. I don't know why the fuck Shogun's fighting again.
Yeah.
That's too much.
Yeah, I agree with that one, but I feel like he's so hit or miss, right? In his last couple fights, and I feel like it's just the nature of the beast at 205. Yeah, it is because he's old.
He's like 90. He's like 90 years old.
I love Shogun. Don't get me wrong.
I just really, though, the Shogun thing makes more sense to me than this Frankie Edgar thing, because Shogun's been taking on these contenders and stuff and hasn't been at the top of the division for a little while now and stuff. But the Frankie Edgar thing, to me, when these veterans are making their move out the door, I feel like that you don't give them a bum, Kyle. You definitely give them somebody that's competition and,
I think this is a good matchup of it.
Yeah, I agree. I just feel like you don't make it a fight where you're hoping to build the name value off of Frankie Edgar. That's
Why
what
don't you
bothers
though?
me.
Because that's a great win for him to go out on, though, if he wins.
Yeah, but I feel like, but Chris Gutierrez isn't ranked, if I'm not mistaken. He's not.
Neither is Frankie Edgar.
He just was until
He
lost
just
to
was.
Tito.
He's not now.
Yeah.
And if it's going to be his retirement fight, what does it matter?
Yeah, but because if you're talking about a competition thing where it should be like the top level competition, whether it's a young guy or new, whoever it be, then it should be like where he just was, ranked competition, top level guy. And if that's not the case,
But
then
most
I
guys
feel
are
like
going to
he
get
should
a
be
bounce
taken on
back
the vet.
after the last loss that he just had, too. So, I mean, if you're going to have him fight somebody, you have him fight a guy who's going to get in there and fight with him. It's not going to be a fight that's going to be boring. Frankie Edgar is going to get to fight the way Frankie Edgar fights. If he wins, he goes out on a great win. If he loses, now you have another young guy who has a win. That's something that you can build off of. I mean, to use an old pro wrestling thing.
That's my issue with it, is building a name off of Frankie Edgar in his retirement fight. That is
I hate to say it, dude, but that's the nature of that kind of game. This is one of those things where pro wrestling and MMA very much so
you've done that. You've done that throughout his whole career. That's my thing, is when
So then why change it up now?
Because it's it's a respect thing,
right? But there's not another other than Cruz, who you just said,
or 30 fights.
30 years. Get the fuck out of here.
30 fights.
The Cruz, like, sure, but I mean, like the Cruz thing. Okay, Cruz would have made sense had he not had the knockout. But who the fuck else do you have him fight? Unless Jose Aldo wants to fight.
Well, Jose Aldo, yet again, another guy that stepped away from, doesn't want to fight no more. So
he gone,
or at least
I'm just
doesn't
saying,
want to fight in the UFC anymore. Is talking about.
I'm just saying that would have been
stuff, so.
Sure, but I'm just saying that would have been another name. I'm just saying there aren't really that many names out there that are in his weight bracket that I could see him fighting somebody like that. So if there's not like the legend fight for him to go out on, then I feel like this is like the next best option, because at least it's not going to be a guy who's going to go in there and try to point fight him.
I mean, that's the one valid point, in my opinion, that's there, is definitely that he's not.
And don't we
Chris
bitch all the time
Gutierrez
that the UFC we bitch all the time, and you have bitched about it on this show too, that the UFC does not do a good enough job of building up more stars so they have more people that people want to see fight. So if Chris Gutierrez is a guy who's already proven by his fights that he'll get in there and scrap with people, even if it's not always in a winning situation, it's a win-win for the UFC. I'm not mad about it at all. And if I'm Frankie Edgar, I don't think Frankie Edgar takes that as disrespect. He looks at it as, I'm going to go in there one more time and I'm going to show people why the fuck I'm Frankie Edgar and show this kid what time it is. But I don't got a problem with it. If anything, everybody's always bitching the UFC doesn't make stars. Well, this is how you make stars.
Yeah. I personally disagree with the matchmaking. I feel like there's so many other guys that you could have done with.
Then who?
And Frankie Edgar is still ranked. He's ranked 11 still. So there's,
Okay, and Chris Gutierrez has been ranked too, though.
Yeah, but the highest he's ever gotten is like 14, 15. And then was
sure, but how? Okay, so that's a couple of spots off.
And then due to inactivity, never was able to climb up further in the rankings. It wasn't because of losses; it was just due to inactivity. So that's yet again my thing. I'm a fan of Chris Gutierrez. I don't say this as somebody who's like, oh, I don't want to see him fight.
But I'm just saying, I feel like you're judging this more off of the fact that it's Frankie Edgar, when in reality, if we're looking at this from a standings place, they usually do that, where there's a couple spots difference, whether that's down or up. You've got a guy who you know is going to go in there and fight with him. You've got a guy who you know that if he loses, now you can. If Frankie loses, you now have another star, and if Frankie wins, Frankie gets to look like Frankie on the way out. I don't have any problem with that kind of matchup.
I guess we have a differing opinion.
Because
Then.
I don't think it's not like it would be different if it were a fight where they were just leading Frankie out to the gallows and it was a guy who was just going to kill him. This is a fight that Frankie can still win easily if he fights like Frankie Edgar. So that's why I say it would be different if they were leading him up to get his ass whooped and it was going to be a squash fight. I don't feel this is a squash fight. I feel like it's a way for Frankie Edgar to go out on a competitive note. And with that, we're on our final note. Shout out to the homies from Five Finger Death Punch. I'm not going to sing the bleeding. I did that yesterday and don't really have a whole lot of voice.
I'm ready to get some rest. I know that.
Donald's got the point. I mean, I hate to say I told you so. It's the same in every combat sport. Pro wrestling can fall into that.
You can say it a million times, but you don't get that I'm saying they've done that the whole career. I have no issue with that throughout the normal fighting sphere. In the normal realm of fights, I have no issue with putting the young guy.
If you can give me one fight that makes the one fight that you could name right now off of somebody that doesn't have something going and that is a better option. Because he's not going to go up to 145 again. That's why I said the Aldo thing, because they could have fought at 135. There's no big names that are left there at 35. You could have had him fight DJ if DJ was still there, but DJ's in 1FC. There are no bigger name guys left there for him to fight like that. There's nobody. Yeah. Hell no. Donald, your idea, you talk about leading a motherfucker to the gallows. Fuck no. Cejudo? Hell no. Fuck no, I don't want to.
If you're talking competition, that makes more sense to me.
That makes more sense. You're talking about a guy that they're talking about is going to be immediately fast-tracked for a title, and you want him to come back and beat up Frankie Edgar on his way out? That makes more sense than having him fight a fight with a guy who's going to get in there and scrap with him, and it's a more competitive fight?
Yeah, way more sense.
So you're saying you'd rather see Cejudo go in there and beat the shit out of him is what you're saying?
Yeah, but I don't think that's necessarily what would happen. I think Frankie Edgar...
I would be willing to bet you money on it right now.
Okay. We'll bet $1 million on this fight that's never going to take place. Gotcha.
I didn't say he's going to KO him, Donald, but... I didn't say he's going to KO him, but like I said, I think Gutierrez is a way better matchup for him than Cejudo, because especially since Cejudo, they're going to try to bring him back and put him right in the title picture. Frankie's nowhere near the title picture, dude. If you have him come in there, and let's just say Cejudo does beat the dog shit out of Frankie, I do not want to see Frankie go out getting his ass kicked. I want to see, and if Frankie's going to lose and go out losing, I'd rather see Frankie go out on a fight where he's fighting with somebody, whether that's Gutierrez or whoever the fuck it ends up being, just somebody that's going to go in there and fight a fight with him. Not a guy who's going to get in there and run away from him or any of that kind of shit. That's why I said, if you want to see Frankie Edgar go out like Frankie Edgar, Chris Gutierrez is the way to do that. Cejudo is a much bigger risk. And on top of that, in my opinion, I think if you put him in there with Cejudo, you're also going to have the thing of the same thing that you just said. People have always been saying Frankie's whole career that he got ate up, and I feel like the media would eat them the fuck alive like they led Frankie out to the gallows. So just my opinion, but there's a lot of shit to talk about come this Tuesday. You know, our buddy Austin Bashy is stepping back into the cage November 12th. I'm going to be on the fucking call. So who knows what's going to come out on the microphone. But with that being said, his opponent has contacted us from the world of Boston and wants to come through and give his thoughts on Lights Out Championship. We'll talk to him on Tuesday. He says he's a party. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the party. We'll see you this Tuesday. Peace.